Gender inequality is of course not just about women, but also to some men. Japan has the highest suicide rate among the young, but about 70% of the people dying are men. 皆さんこんにちは and welcome to Let's Ask Shogo. Every year, the World Economic Forum presents the Global Gender Gap Report, which measures the gender gap in each country. The data for 2021 was announced in March, and Japan was ranked 120th out of 156 countries. This is the lowest among the G7 and neighboring countries like China, South Korea, and Southeastern Asian countries. What's worse is that compared to other countries, Japan is very slow in making progress and continuously going down the rankings. What is causing this situation in Japan, and why are we having such a hard time changing it? Today, I will explain about the situation of gender inequality in Japan, why the gender gap is so big, and give some examples of gender inequality. Also, at the end of the video, I would like to talk about what kind of actions are being taken to try to solve this problem in Japan today. And even if you get confused somewhere during the middle, that's okay. I will wrap everything up again at the end of the video in today's conclusion. それでは本日も参りましょう。First, let's take a closer look at the situation of gender inequality in Japan. As I've introduced in the beginning, Japan's ranking in the Global Gender Gap Report was announced 120th out of 156 countries, which means that Japan is one of the lowest ranked countries. The ranking of the Global Gender Gap Report are created by focusing on 4 fields. 1. Participation in the economy and its opportunities. 2. Achievement of education. 3. Health and survival. 4. Political empowerment. Of these 4 fields, Japan is actually scored above average for education and health, considering the fact that Japan has compulsory education and that medical care is provided to everyone. The problem is with the ranking of political and economy fields, which didn't even make it in the top half. The percentage of female members of the House of Representatives, which was the subject of the survey, was just 9.9%. In addition, the fact that there has never been a female prime minister so far are also factors behind Japan's low ranking in the political field. 25.5% of parliamentarians around the world are women. So you can understand how low the percentage is in Japan. The Gender Equality Promotion Law in the political field was enacted in 2018, and political parties were obliged to make efforts to equalize male and female candidates, but the actual number is still very far from equal. Among the economy field, the 2 items, gender difference in the number of managerial positions and gender difference in the number of professionals and technical staff, are significantly pulling Japan's ranking down. However, many people, including the author of this book, point out that Japan is making progress towards solving gender inequality. However, the speed is relatively slow compared to other countries, and that's why the results cannot be seen in the rankings. Next, let's discuss why the situation is so bad in Japan, especially in the fields of politics and economy. 1. The legacy of the Edo period. 2. The lack of understanding that gender inequality is linked to many social issues. 3. Not enough nursery schools, and men cannot easily take maternity leave. 1. The legacy of the Edo period. The Edo period is the last era that the samurai existed, when the 3rd Edo Tokugawa shogunate ruled Japan. What is so special about this period is that although it lasted for 265 years, It was a very peaceful era with hardly any wars. Such a miracle was possible due to the clever policies that the shogunate had created. And these are some examples. 1. Restricting trade and traveling to other countries to prevent Christianity from coming into Japan. 2. Clearly dividing the people by their classes and restricting where they can live, what they can wear, to keep them in their place. 3. Keeping the samurai poor by forcing them to use large amounts of money in annual occasional noble ceremonies to save their faces. 4. Teaching the samurai Confucianism to create the virtue of constantly obeying superiors. I've made a video before about why earning money is evil in Japan, and I explained that the culture today has a big impact from the Edo period. The problems with gender inequality is also one of them. I explained that the people of the Edo period were clearly divided by their classes, and that samurai were taught Confucianism about always prioritizing the superiors. But there was actually a strict line between men and women too. And women were always thought to be lower than men. If a woman gets married, she would move into the husband's house as the lowest ranked person within the family, doing all the housework and dealing with relationships with mother-in-laws. Whenever their husbands would go out or come home, they would kneel on the floor and bow to see them off or welcome them home. Wow, then gender inequality had existed for a very long time in Japan then. It was surely not equal during the Edo period too, but it was actually a little more balanced than how it is today. The men were treated as a higher position in society and at home, but it also meant that they were the ones that had to risk their lives and take responsibilities for any troubles. For example, men would have to walk outside with katana swords all the time and commit seppuku if anything went wrong within the clan or family. What's interesting is that men were even responsible for raising the children and caring for aged parents, because it was thought of as an important part of being responsible for the family's next generation and showing your respect to the elderly. But how about today? Men have inherited the parts of the culture that are just good for them and are forgetting about their responsibilities. Japan is said to have the most number of husbands who do not do housework, and raising kids and looking after aged parents who need care are all women's work. But obviously, no man has any risk of getting killed outside or having to commit seppuku to protect their families, right? Also, data shows that women work almost the same amount of time as men, but still have to do everything else and have a lower position than men. There are some people who seriously believe that women are not capable of doing complex things like politics or being in the managing class of a company. But no, it's because women simply didn't have the opportunity in the past. It doesn't mean that they cannot do it. And the successful women leaders today have proven that. Contradictions that are so obvious cannot be easily changed in Japan because it is an aging society with an average age of 48.4 years old, the highest in the world. And more than 28.7% of the population is older than 65 years old. My grandfather, who lives in Kyoto, cannot work anymore because of age. And my grandmother, who is almost 80 years old, is still working a part-time job. However, my grandfather doesn't do any housework, but is always sitting in his chair watching TV and just waiting for everything to be done. I feel that it is impossible to suddenly make him understand that it is not fair that my grandmother has to do everything, because it is something that he has believed in throughout his whole life. How is it in the country that you live in? Do you have similar problems, or are you completely surprised to know a new side of Japan? Please let me know in the comments. 2. The lack of understanding that gender inequality is linked to many social issues. Another problem is that there's not enough education about gender inequality in Japan. Many people understand this problem as just women complaining about their lives. But as you probably already understand, the problems of gender inequality are not about personal feelings, but the root of many major social issues in our society. These are some examples. 1. Disappearance of local cities. 2. Molestation and other sexual crimes. 3. Very high rate of young men committing suicide. There are many rural cities in Japan that are becoming unable to sustain because all the young people are leaving their hometowns and never coming back from the big cities like Tokyo and Osaka. This is especially remarkable among women who don't want to return to the cities with ancient traditions that regard the purpose of women's lives is getting married and giving birth to babies. Also, the common idea of men are superior to women creates the hideous belief that women are a form of entertainment for men. If you take a look at the Yujo Yukaku prostitution culture in the past and the enormous pornography industry in Japan today, you can understand that the distorted views have not changed that much. This idea could of course lead to terrible crimes like molestation and other sexual crimes that will leave scars in people's hearts that cannot be healed. Gender inequality is of course not just about women, but also to some men, because there is still a general image that men must not show their weakness, or men need to be financially strong, and this is suffocating them with pressure. Japan has the highest suicide rate among the young, but about 70% of the people dying are men. 3. Not enough nursery schools and men not taking their paternity leave. The lack of childcare facilities in Japan has been a serious problem for quite a long time now. This problem occurred due to the sudden increase in double-income households and the shortage of nursery teachers. The total number of children who were on the waiting list for childcare facilities in Japan in 2020 was 12,439, and it is recently finally starting to decline. This means that there are thousands of mothers who cannot or have a hard time going back to work and have to give up their careers because there is no place that can take care of their children during work. By the way, the percentage of fathers taking their paternity leave is only about 5 to 7% in Japan, which is another one of the lowest in the world ranking. This is also another reason why all the labor of caring for children is crammed on the mothers, because a man asking to leave work to take care of kids is thought to be irresponsible and embarrassing. Throughout this video, I've basically only talked about the negative situations of the problems of gender inequality. But as I've explained in the first chapter, Japan is trying to make change. Before I end this video, let me quickly give you some examples of what Japan is doing. 1. Work style innovation started in 2019. The reforms promoted by the government that allow workers to choose diverse and flexible work styles according to their individual circumstances. 2. 30% Club, Japan, established in 2019. The Japanese version of the international campaign aiming towards achieving the percentage of female executives in TOPIX 100 to 30% by 2030. 3. The recent increase of nursery schools and teachers. While the number of children on the waiting list was as high as 26,081 in 2017, due to the government's new measures, the number has decreased to 12,439 in 2020. As a father of 2 daughters, one 3-year-old and one half-year-old, I personally feel that the younger generation in Japan is definitely changing their values towards genders. I see a lot more fathers at playgrounds on weekends, looking after children compared to when I was a child. And I have female friends who are working very hard to be independent and earning much more money than I do as a business person. They may be small steps, but I can see that there is some kind of progress happening, and I'm very happy about it. Then lastly, today's conclusion. Japan's ranking in the Global Gender Gap Report was 120th out of the 156 countries, which means that it is one of the lowest countries in the world. Especially the rankings of the political and economy fields are a problem, which didn't even make it in the top 100. The fact that the percentage of female ministers is as low as 10%, and that no female prime minister has been born so far are the main factors for why the ranking is so low in the political field. The two items, gender difference in the number of managerial positions and gender difference in the number of professionals and technical staff, are the reasons why Japan ranks so low in the economic field. The reasons that I found for why gender inequality is so bad in Japan are: 1. The legacy of the Edo period. 2. The lack of understanding that gender inequality is linked to many social issues. 3. Not enough nursery schools, and men cannot easily take paternity leave. Despite the fact that there must be a lot that needs to be done to solve this problem, Japan is slowly trying to make progress by: 1. Starting the work style innovation in 2019. 2. Establishing the 30% Club Japan in 2019. 3. The recent increase of nursery schools and teachers. So that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching. If you thought, oh my gosh, Hinata and Nagi are growing up so fast, please hit the like button to help me boost this video to more people. And my goal is to achieve 1 million subscribers by January 2023, so your help is what I need. In this channel, you can take a closer look at Japanese traditional culture, tips on traveling to Kyoto, and social problems in Japan. So learners, lovers of Japanese language and culture, be sure to subscribe to enjoy more content. And if you'd like to learn more about today's topic, please take a look at my sub-channel, Shogo's podcast, through the link inside the description box. I would like to talk a little bit more about my views towards gender inequality in Japan. Thanks again, and I'll see you in my next video. どうもありがとうございました。